Jensen. Quite quickly, Smoke Jensen wrote finis to the evil machinations of Ralph Tinsdale. In their final confrontation, Smoke had left Tinsdale for dead at the bottom of a deep ravine, with 2 bullet holes in the belly. Tinsdale had survived with large scars and a permanent limp. Smoke found that out when called to testify at the trial. When the guilty verdict came in and the judge sentenced him to life in prison, Tinsdale cursed Smoke hotly in language unbecoming the stylish clothing the swindler wore. His time in prison had failed to mellow him. Tinsdale had grown slack behind bars so that his once lustrous hair had turned a mousy brown, poorly cared for, and his once natty pencil-lined mustache had been replaced by a scraggly wisp of its former self. Only his hatred of Smoke Jensen gave him a semblance of youthful vigor. Enough, though, that he was accepted as second in command of the unholy trio. Olin Buckner had nearly 10 years on his associates. His auburn hair, which had faded to mostly gray, was worn slicked back tightly on a long skull. He had a porcine appearance, enhanced by a jowly face, with a pug nose and small, deep-set black eyes. An overlarge mouth and big ears added to the illusion. He had already developed a middle-aged spread. Once, though, he had been trim and almost compulsively active. He had owned an entire town in south-central Montana. Most of it he had acquired by unlawful means, and he ruled with an iron fist, until he tried to drive out the daughter of a mysteriously and recently deceased friend of Smoke Jensen. Smoke went after Buckner with a particular vengeance. Olin Buckner replied by hiring an army of gunfighters, putting a bounty on the head of Smoke Jensen, and sitting back to enjoy the results. Buckner might have been a fine, skillful fisherman, but he had never hooked a shark before. When Smoke Jensen got through with him, he had lain in a hospital bed for 5 months before he could stand upright, and another 3 before he could be brought to trial. Like the others, his residual wealth and influence bought him a commutation of sentence. The hangman was cheated, and Buckner went to the worst prisons in the West. He ended up in Yuma and soon found a common bond between himself and the other 2. Now, this trio of the lowest form of human debris stood quietly in line to take a bowl and tin cup in turn, and shuffle past the trustees who dispensed the midday meal. Each inmate received a large dipper of a thin soup, purported to be chicken but lacking even the sight of a speck of meat, and half a round loaf of sourdough bread. Then they retreated to the blessing of shade. As always, the topic of conversation among Spectre, Tinsdale, and Buckner centered on Smoke Jensen. "I hate that bastard," Olin Buckner spat. "I've not been able to enjoy a day or night without pain since Jensen shot me. I want him dead. No, crippled and suffering would be better." "You both know I have ample cause to despise Smoke Jensen." Ralph Tinsdale spoke in precise tones as his stomach cramped and growled in protest to the food. "I was a man of consequence and ample means before Jensen thrust himself into my affairs. Since then I have not been able to eat a meal without terrible agony, and prison has further destroyed me." Victor Spectre gave a snort of amusement through his nose. "And you have destroyed a few of them, from what I hear." Tinsdale sniffed disdainfully. "I was not afforded the respect I deserved." "Well, whatever." Spectre muffled through a mouthful of bread. "I have no reason to love Smoke Jensen, as you well know. He maimed me and murdered my son, took everything from me. The only thing is—" "Quiet down there," a guard snarled. "No talking among the prisoners. You 3 know the rules." After the guard turned away, Victor Spectre repeated himself. "The only thing is, there is not a thing we can do about it from inside here. Smoke Jensen is free as a bird to go and do anything he wants, with no harm to him." "I'd give a hell of a lot to see it otherwise," Buckner growled. He spooned the thin soup into his mouth. Ralph Tinsdale studied Victor Spectre while he munched on the chewy sourdough bread.